Did you know that your Ford came from the factory with settings that were tuned to pass government fuel economy tests, not to make your engine last? Some of them are quietly stacking wear on your starter, your transmission, and your valve train every single day. And one of them, Ford, is not even allowed to let you turn off permanently. Today, we are looking into the 5 to change hidden Ford settings, and at number 1, it's a $100 box that fixes the worst offender forever. Let's count them down. Setting number 5, Eco Mode while towing or hauling. Eco Mode sounds responsible, and for empty highway cruising, it is harmless. The problem starts the moment you hook up a trailer or load the bed and leave that leaf icon glowing. Eco Mode dulls throttle response, short shifts the transmission into the tallest gear it can find and holds it there to keep RPMs low. Underload, that is a recipe called lugging, the engine grinding away at low RPM against heavy resistance. Lugging spikes cylinder pressures and combustion temperatures, which is exactly how carbon gets baked onto pistons and valves, and it forces the torque converter and clutch packs to slip more, which cooks transmission fluid. Overheated fluid loses its protective additives, and on modern Fords, the transmission is not a forgiving component. Your owner's manual already tells you the answer. It just does not shout it. Anything meaningful behind the truck, roughly 3,000 pounds of trailer or serious cargo, means Eco is off. And if you have been towing in Eco for years, spend $150 to $300 on a transmission fluid service now because burnt fluid is dark brown, smells like toast, and precedes rebuilds that run $3,500 to $5,000. One free tool while you are at it. Most modern F-150S can display transmission temperature right in the gauge cluster menu. Turn it on before your next tow and watch what Eco Mode does to that number on a long grade. The truck will make this argument better than I can. Quick pause. If you drive a Ford and plan on keeping it past 200,000 miles, subscribe right now, because this channel is about making that cheap. Setting 4 is not even on your touchscreen, and it is the one quietly deciding how long your engine lives. Setting number 4, trusting the oil life monitor. The most dangerous setting in your Ford might be the one you never set, the intelligent oil life monitor, which will happily let you run up to 10,000 miles or a full year between oil changes. On paper, clever. In practice, that calculator was tuned for gentle, ideal use, and turbocharged direct injection engines do not live ideal lives. EcoBoost engines are known for fuel dilution, raw gasoline sneaking past the rings during short trips and cold running, thinning the oil until it protects like water. You can catch it yourself if the level on your dipstick is mysteriously rising between changes, or the oil smells like gasoline. That is fuel in your bearings lubricant, and the monitor has no idea. Thin, tired oil is precisely what Ford's most infamous failure points cannot tolerate. The timing chains and cam phasers on these engines are oil pressure devices, and the early 3.5 EcoBoost generation, plus the 2017 to 2020 trucks, built entire service bulletins around stretched chains and rattling phasers. When that job comes due, you are staring at $2,000 to $5,500 once chains, guides, and tensioners join the party. Against that, the fix is almost insulting. Ignore the monitor's optimism and change quality synthetic every 5,000 miles, which is what Ford's own severe service fine print describes, and severe service includes towing, short trips, idling, and hot weather, which is to say normal truck life. And if the truck tows regularly, Ford's own fine print pushes the interval down even further. $60 of oil, 5 times more often, is the cheapest cam phaser insurance ever sold. Setting number 3. The 15-minute remote start warm-up. The most expensive button your Ford has is on the key fob. In the settings menu, remote start runtime can be set as high as 15 minutes, and every winter millions of owners fire the truck from the kitchen window and let it idle to a toasty cabin. Here is what that comfort costs on a direct injection engine. At idle, combustion is cold and incomplete, and the PCV system breathes oily vapor back through the intake. On engines that spray fuel directly into the cylinder, nothing ever washes the back of the intake valves, so that vapor bakes on layer after layer into the carbon crust that causes rough idle, misfires, and power loss. Fleet vehicles that idle at job sites all day show the worst intake valves in the business, and a remote start habit is the civilian version of that duty cycle, and removing it means an induction service or walnut blasting at $500 to $1,000. Now, the nuance most channels miss. If your truck runs the newer dual-injection EcoBoost engines, the 3.5 from 2017 on, or the second generation 2.7, there are port injectors helping rinse those valves, and the risk drops. But the 2011 to 2016 3.5 seconds and the early 2.7 seconds are pure direct injection, and for those trucks, the long, cozy warm-up is genuinely corrosive. Meanwhile, the idling engine is diluting its own oil, exactly the problem from setting 4. The rule modern engines actually want is 30 seconds to a minute, then drive gently, set remote, start to the short runtime, and treat it as a defroster, not a fireplace. And if you live somewhere genuinely cold, the old school answer still beats idling. A block heater on a timer warms the engine with electricity instead of wear, which is exactly why every fleet in the north runs them. One honest exception, after a long, hard tow, a minute or two of idle before shutdown is good manners to a hot turbo. Warming up? No. Cooling down? Yes. Setting number 2. Never touching tow/haul mode. The opposite mistake from setting 5 and just as expensive. Ford put a tow/haul button on your shifter for a reason, and most owners have never pressed it. Towing in normal mode means the transmission keeps chasing fuel economy shift patterns while dragging thousands of pounds, upshifting early, slipping more, and building heat in the clutch packs. And heat is the entire story of transmission death. Tow/haul changes the truck's personality, it holds gears, firms the shifts, and most importantly, it downshifts aggressively on descent so the engine does the braking. Skip it, and on a long grade, your brake pads absorb the energy the engine should have, which is how trailers end up behind smoking, faded brakes. The modern 10-speed is a fine gearbox, but it is famously unsentimental about cooked fluid, so the stakes are higher than they were in the old trucks. The rule is binary and free. Trailer over roughly 3,000 pounds, heavy bed or mountain grades, the button gets pressed before the truck moves. On long descents, you can go one better and use the manual shift buttons to lock a lower gear, letting compression do the work while your brakes stay cool for the moment you actually need them. And once a year of real towing, pull the dipstick story anyway. A $150 fluid service is the cheapest $5,000 you will ever save. Setting number 1. Auto Start-Stop. Here it is, the one that drives Ford owners crazy, and the one Ford is not allowed to let you kill permanently. Auto Start-Stop shuts your engine off at every red light and restarts it when you lift off the brake, and it exists almost entirely because those restarts earn fuel economy credits on federal certification tests. What it earns you is different. Every stoplight becomes another engine start, so a commuting truck racks up tens of thousands of extra start cycles, and Ford had to fit a heavy-duty starter and a special AGM battery just to survive it. Those parts became consumables. The AGM battery runs $250 to $400 instead of $150. A starter job runs $400 to $800, and the real-world fuel savings amount to a few percent in pure city driving. Call it a tank of gas a year if you are lucky. The math never balances, and there is an engine argument on top. Every shutdown drops oil pressure to zero, and every restart rebuilds it, over and over, all day. On engines already famous for oil pressure-sensitive cam phasers, a system that multiplies pressure cycles by 100 is the last thing they needed. There is also the half-second of lag when the engine wakes up as you try to jump into a gap in traffic, which is the moment most owners decide they hate the system forever. Ford gave you a disable button near the shifter, but thanks to the certification rules, it unpresses itself every single time you start the truck. Which brings us to the $100 fix I promised. Aftermarket plug-in modules, devices like the Auto Stop Eliminator. Remember your preference and switch the system off automatically at every start. No wiring, about 15 minutes with basic tools, roughly $100 to $150. Open any Ford. Owners Forum and disabling Start-Stop is one of the first threads you will find year after year, generation after generation. It is one of the most popular modifications in the Ford world for a simple reason. It is the only setting on this list the truck refuses to let you fix, so owners fixed it themselves. So that is the list, and notice the pattern one more time. Eco-calibrations, stretched oil intervals, idle comfort features, restart credits, every single one optimizes a number on a government worksheet, and every single one sends the bill to your driveway. All 5 fixes together cost about an hour and the price of an oil change. Tell me in the comments which one you were guilty of. I am betting most of you had at least 2 active. Tap like so the next Ford owner finds this before the repair bill does, and subscribe because next we are ranking which Ford engines are actually worth buying and which ones to run from. See you there.